and safe communities, we have 4 key performance indicators, which talk to the percentage of parolees and the percentage of probationers without violations of their conditions, the number of victims participating in restorative justice processes, and then we also have the cross-cutting indicator, which talks to the implementation of the National Strategic Plan on with regards to gender-based violence. The next priority that we contribute to is priority 2, which is economic transformation and job creation. There are 4 key performance indicators there, which is the number of economic opportunities facilitated for parolees and probationers, the percentage of youth employed within the department, the percentage of our compliance with regards to our employment equity plan, and the percentage of tenders above 30 million that are awarded to designated groups. Moving on to slide 9, where we look at our contribution to priority 3, which is that which relates to education, skills, and health. There are 4 key performance areas there which relate to the percentage of sentenced offenders with correctional sentence plans who have completed correctional programs, the percentage of offenders participating in long and short occupational skills programs, and those offenders who are participating in TVET college programs. In terms of contributing towards a capable, ethical, and developmental state, which are mainly performance indicators, which are in our administration program 1, look at the percentage of investigations completed for reported allegations, percentage of officials charged and found guilty for corrupt activities, and compliance with our employment equity plans. If I take you to slide 12, which talks about our theory of change, and I did indicate that in terms of how we are measuring our performance over the 5-year period, we obviously have the priorities that are measuring our outcomes over the medium to long term, and therefore our performance indicators must be aligned and consistent in order for us to be able to measure that theory of change. So in terms of what we want to achieve over the 5-year period, which would be the second line there, which is we are looking at having improved safety and security of inmates, parolees, probationers, officials. In addition to that, we want to improve case management processes of inmates, increase access to needs-based rehabilitation programs, to improve moral fiber, to have successful reintegration of all those under the care of the department, to have a healthy incarcerated population, and a high-performing ethical organization. So in terms of, if we look at the very bottom, how we are going to do that, or how we are going to measure that, we measure the reduction of security breaches in correctional facilities, the increase in offenders approved for parole placement or correctional supervision. We measure the increase in offenders enrolled in development programs, the increase in inmates participating in well-being programs, increase in offenders under the system of community corrections, as well as those accessing primary healthcare services, and also the achievement of organizational targets, organizational performance targets, and also our change in terms of technology implementation. If we move to our external environment, which we considered in developing this plan, which influenced how we set our targets, which is slide 13. The key external factors would have been the economic overview, where we're saying that whilst there is economic growth that has been registered in the 2022 year, there is still areas of fiscal constraints and budget cuts that would have impacted on the resources allocated to us. In terms of crime statistics, there have been general increases. In terms of murders committed, rape cases, attempted murder, violence, gender-based violence issues, etc., which would also influence the inflow in terms of our population. Unemployment, whilst it decreased, it is still registered that in the age groups of 15 to 34, which is classified as youth, there is still stubbornly high unemployment amongst that group. Whilst COVID is no longer a global health emergency, it did impact on our operating environment over this the MTSF period. However, we are now managing that in terms of our health standard operating procedures, and we are cognizant of that in our operating environment. If we move to slide 14. In terms of security incidents, we have observed a general decrease in the overall security breaches within our environment since we have started executing on this 5-year strategic plan. We have, however, been impacted over the last year from the lockdown period coming forth with regards to an increase in the population levels of incarcerated and awaiting trial detainees. And that has also impacted on how we are targeting with regards to our overcrowding. And that has been an area that we have provided additional information on in the second slide, which the members will look at and would engage on at a later stage. Given the pressures that we are under, and also with a view towards creating an entrepreneurial state and ensuring that the department is able to fund its own activities as well as contribute to skills development of offenders, we are also emphasizing the self-sufficiency and sustainability framework of the department, which would ensure that we attain those objectives in the long run. With regards to rehabilitation, I'll move to slide 15. On rehabilitation, we are also focusing on increasing access to life skills, education, training, and personal well-being programs, with an emphasis on that going forward. In terms of driving our social reintegration initiatives, we continue to engage government departments, NGOs, faith-based organizations, and community-based organizations in terms of ensuring that we have partnerships that would enable us to interact more broadly with the societies in which we intend to reintegrate the offenders that we release from our facilities. And then in terms of care, we ensure that we are provisioning 24-hour access to primary healthcare services, as well as ensuring that we manage those who are in requirement of mental health care services between ourselves and the national and provincial departments of health. If we move to slide 16, the organizational influences or the approaches that we've taken is in terms of implementing cost reduction programs in order to manage the limited resources that are coming into the environment, but also increasing the revenue that we generate internally. Just from a human capacity point of view, because we are human capacity intensive, we also have developed an integrated HR strategy, which focuses on human resource management, human resource development, integrated employee health and wellness, as well as employee relations, in order to improve the environment for the officials, as well as managing talent in ensuring that we recruit and retain the necessary skills, whilst also ensuring that there is gender mainstreaming and that we, on the overall, have safer conditions for the public, officials, and inmates within correctional facilities. Chairperson and members, the ensuing slides would go specifically to the performance indicators within the various programs, which I wouldn't want to go in detail, seeing that the presentation has been circulated. But just to indicate, if we move to slide if the colleagues could move the slide to 52. On that slide, we have just indicated that in terms of the environment in which we operate, we have looked at the various risks that could hamper the delivery of our strategic plan or of our annual performance plan. And on slide 52, we'll see that there are 13 strategic risks, which are actively being monitored by the department. And we do have a risk management strategy and the risk management practitioners within the organization who are assisting us to ensure that the performance objectives of the organization are achieved. At this point, Chairperson and members, I'll hand over to the CFO or the acting CFO that he can give us an indication of the budget allocation that will support our delivery of these key performance objectives that I have articulated. Acting CFO, if I could hand over to you, please.
Good morning. Thanks, CDC Katenga. Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning to honorable members, and greetings to the National Commissioner for Department of Correctional Services, colleagues on the platform from DCS and other colleagues that are in attendance in this particular meeting. Chair, members, and the National Commissioner, I will start with slide number 58. If ever they present, that can be flighted. Slide number 58 provide the expenditure through the MTF period, which in this particular case is expected to increase with an average of 2.3% from 26.5 billion in 2022-23 to 28 billion to the outer year, which is 2025-26 financial year. And it's also important to emphasize that this particular MTF period, the allocation to incarceration program, account to 58.8% of the total vote allocation within the period of 3 years, which in terms of the monetary value is 48 billion. Also to add that the compensation of employee is the largest spending area, which account to 67.2% of the total vote for the allocation period. And to re-emphasize that the alignment between PESAL and HRB 22 is not yet finalized. It's a process that is underway that our human resource management is currently working on. There is a baseline increase from 2023-24 to 2025-26 financial year of 1.3 billion, which is the carry-through amount that is caused by COLA, cost of living adjustment of 3% over the 3-year MTF period, which in terms of figures or the budget is 426 million. Chairperson, honorable members, just to emphasize that the department has also within the MTF period allocated 266 million to machinery and equipment under the rehabilitation program, which in the main is to support the self-sustainability program. And the bulk of this particular allocation is for the recapitalization of the investment of the production workshop and agricultural farms, as I've indicated, to enhance the self-sufficiency program of the Department of Correctional Services. If you can move to slide number 60. Chair, honorable members, National Commissioner, colleagues, in terms of the 2022 E&E allocation is listed specifically and exclusively appropriate as the appropriation bill and may not be used for purposes other than those that are specified. That the upgrading of the rehabilitation and refurbishment of the correctional center and other facilities, there's an allocation of 451 million in the 2022-23 financial year, and to 420 million in the outer year, which is 2025-26. Funds that are earmarked for Judicial Inspectorate for Correctional Services, it's 76.4 million, for 23-24 financial year and 83.5 million to 25-26 financial year. The COE within the MTF period, it's 17 billion 361 billion in 2023-24 financial year, and in the outer year is 18 billion in the 2025-26 financial year. Devolution of funds from public works, accommodation charges in 23-24 financial year 786 million. In the outer year 25-26 995 million. Leases 561 million, and outer year 137.51 million. Municipal services, it's 1.3 billion in 2023-24 financial year, and in the outer year, which is 25-26 financial, is 1.4 billion. I'll move to slide number 62. Thank you, Chair, honorable members, MC. In terms of slide number 62, it depicts the expenditure estimate per program. And you might realize that after is the expenditures per program, which, Chair, I'm not going to be able to go through because of this. They will summarize in terms of all these particular expenditure per program. Starting with administration, in terms of the MTF estimate 2023-24 financial year, we have, it's 4.9 billion, and outer year is 5.2 billion with an average growth of 3.5%. Incarceration, which I've indicated in the previous slides, that they take the largest of the expenditure, which in the 2023-24 financial year is 15 billion, 2025-26 financial year, it's 16 billion, which is an average growth rate of 2.8% within the MTF period. Program rehabilitation 2023-24, 2.2 billion, 2025-26 is 2.4 billion, which is 0.9% of the average growth. Care is 2.4 billion in 2023-24 financial year. 25-26 is 2.6 billion, with a negative of 0.5% average growth. Social integration, 1.2 billion in the 2023-24 financial year. And in the 25-26 financial year, it's a growth of 1.258 with a negative of 0.1 minus 1.0%. And the total per programs in terms of the 2024 financial year, our budget is 26 billion. 25-26 outer year, then it will be 241. So which is a percentage increase of 2.3% as I've indicated in the previous slide. Chair, I will move to slide, I wouldn't go through actual other slide in terms of program, but I'll move to slide number 86 if the presenter can move to that. Chair, the reason for this particular slide, we fully aware in terms of the challenges of our infrastructure within the department, but this particular slide is just to be able to share in terms of the expenditure or the allocation, specifically in terms of our investment And just to also indicate that in the 2023-24 financial anti-rehabilitation, renovations and refurbishment, we've got 203 million. And then in the outer year is 2025-26 financial 228. And in terms of the maintenance and repairs of our infrastructure, in 2023-24 financial year, allocation of 147 million, and the outer year is 154 million. So I thought it's important for me to also share that particular slide with the chair and the committee members. I'll pause there, Chair, and then thank you very much for the opportunity.
CFO, are you done?
Yes, Chair. Thank you. I'll pause there, and thanks for the opportunity.
Okay. All right. No, thank you very much, CFO. Just the National Commissioner, do you have anything else you want to add? The DM is also on the line, so we'll also get the DM to make an input before I hand over to members to engage with the presentation. All right. Now, DM, do you have anything to add now, or would you prefer to do it at a later stage?
Oh, thank you very much.
And welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry I joined the meeting late. I had been made to understand the meeting would be starting at 10, so I got held up in a cabinet committee meeting, since I'm able to join only after 10. Now, all I can say is that, which is elementary in any event, but I think it needs to be emphasized more again and again. The fact that the criminality that pervades South African society is responsible for the increase in the numbers of offenders in our centers. And it is not possible at all for us to be able to accommodate all of them, no matter how many correctional centers we might want to establish. And also added to that, the successes of the police, the prosecuting authorities, the courts in convicting, in getting the criminals convicted, also adds to the burden that we have. Hence, as a department, we want to get all the assistance that we need from Parliament as a whole, and from society for that matter, that the programs of rehabilitation, which are meant to lead to social reintegration of offenders that have either finished their terms of imprisonment or have successfully participated in our rehabilitation programs, to the extent that we believe they are entitled to release on parole, is very critical to our management of the justice situation in the country and the criminal prevention strategies. Also important is the need for the judiciary to look at alternative ways of meting out punishment to offenders that have been found guilty, rather than see it as the main solution to incarcerate people who are not posing any danger of any kind to society. Once they have been convicted, we would believe that they should be brought under correction, community corrections, through probation, for instance. People who are sentenced to serve their punishment outside of the walls of the centers, we look after them through community corrections. I think that is very important, so that we are able to turn these people into law-abiding citizens, instead of having them put into unacceptable conditions, where even rehabilitation programs are difficult to implement. So any form of support, therefore, that in terms of us succeeding in these programs is very much welcome to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, DM, for that input, but also to the National Commissioner, Mr. CFO, and Mr. Katenga for that presentation to the committee. I'm going to open it up to committee members if they have any comments and or questions that they would want to pose to the department. I think I saw Bartlett raise a hand earlier, Honorable Bartlett. I don't know if you...
Chairperson,
Okay.
I just raised my hand to apologize because I was in the flight. It seemed that it slipped my mind to put an apology to the chairperson. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, Honorable Bartlett. Okay, in terms of engagements with the presentation, we have Honorable Maleka, Honorable Dlamini, Honorable Badenhorst, and Honorable Motsamai, currently in that order. I see Honorable Bartlett as well. All right, let me start with Honorable Maleka. Honorable Maleka.
Thank you, Chairperson, and greeting to the department, the DM, and members and officials. Chairperson, my question is, can the department give the committee an overview of the challenges that occurred within the department in relation to the Thabo Bester escape? What measures has the department taken in respect of its contract with G4S? And on slide 14, what are the underlying reasons for the lack of successful bail review application for remand detainees? And what is the department doing to address the challenges in relation to remand detainees? And the last one, Chairperson, on slide 70, is the department is facing a decrease in budget in program 3. How will the department manage this decrease in relation to the importance of rehabilitation programs for inmates? And what measures will be put in place to ensure that the inmates do not suffer? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Maleka. Honorable Dlamini.
Thank you, Chairperson. I just want to know, is there a system of letting victims know once an offender has been released on parole? This is because we have encountered many victims who would say that the last time they've seen an offender is when they got sentenced, but next thing, after a few years, they would see them roaming around in the same communities without have been informed. So that's number one. And then I would like to know as well, are there instances where inmates have been released because of overcrowding in prisons? And what is the monitoring system after that? And then, of course, with the Thabo Bester case, there's a lot that arised and a lot of questionable things. But above all, were the inmates that were sharing the prison with him, having access to the media, having access to cell phones, to try to vocalize what the department failed to hear from them, as it had been revealed that they tried to alert the department of what was happening. But also with the Thabo Bester situation, it was also the fact that he had escaped prison for a year and the community was not alerted that there's an escapee, and or rather the word should be that community members must look out for it. What are the communications or notices that are sent once an inmate has escaped to alert community members that there's an offender who's supposed to be serving a sentence but is roaming around the same community that we are in? Also, in reference to the state capture, there was an expose rather with the state capture with the relationship between Bosasa and correctional services. And above all, and the most notable was the labor exploitation of inmates, where they would make crafts such as furniture and etc. And that will be resold into the market for exuberant prices. Sorry, without the credit and proper remuneration towards those inmates. And what does the department have to say about that? Are they still into contracts with private companies who take the work done by inmates and then it's sold into the market for profit? And Chair, lastly, is that what is the monitoring process of repeated offenders keep getting parole? Is there a way to monitor that? And is the monitoring system working? Because if you are indeed rehabilitated, the assumption is that you have moved away from a lifestyle that you were living before. And so then what is the cause of someone then repeating the same offenses where the department has seen that this person has completed the process or the course of being rehabilitated? And I think just as a comment, I think it's also unfair. This would apply to even the deputy minister. I find it unfair that in this country, offenders would have the opportunity and access to education, where victims, after giving their testimony, are discarded and disregarded. And I don't know how we can address that. If you've been a victim of crime as well, you should also have access to education and educational systems, because you can't rehabilitate a society of offenders, but keep the trauma of victims just as they are. Thank you very much, Chairperson. That's it on my side.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dlamini. Can I take Honorable Ndongeni, who sent a message that she's having network issues? Honorable Ndongeni.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sorry, Chair, about the camera. Hey, I've got many problems today. My question, Chair, I'm not quite sure whether I'm audible now. Chair?
Yes, you are. Please continue, Honorable Ndongeni.
Okay, thanks. My question is, what vacancies exist in senior management? How far is the department in filling the Eastern Cape Regional Commissioner position? Why is the employment equity target for people with a disability is 0.83, which is below the required 2%? On slide 39, are there now sufficient social workers, psychologists, and general support for inmates, or are there still challenges for the department in the provision of these services to inmates? How would the department describe the mental health of employees working within DCS, particularly in light of overcrowding and other pressure, and what measures are being put in place to ensure that DCS officials are given the necessary support? Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ndongeni. Honorable Badenhorst. Honorable Badenhorst.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I was just unmuting myself there. Thank you for the opportunity to engage. I just want to get to my questions, if I may. First of all, between 2019 and 2022, 143 inmates have escaped, and not one single employee has been to answer me on that. What is the situation there at the moment? What is being done? The rehabilitation programs mentioned are definitely not available at all the facilities. So what are their plans to help inmates at smaller facilities? I'd like to know, what is the situation with regards to the lack of social workers and psychiatrists? How is this shortage of skills mitigated, and how are you ensuring that these services are still available to all the inmates? Are they in fact available to the inmates? Do you have a service level agreement with the Department of Public Works? It seems that there's not one kitchen in this country that is properly working and they take forever to fix it. Have they taken this up with their partners in cabinet, and what was the response? What is the effect of load shedding on prisons? How does the budget go into diesel? Does your generators get serviced by the Department of Public Works? They're setting off almost 6 billion rand of irregular expenses. Yet there's not one single official that's been fired for irregular, fruitless, or wasteful expenses. Can they please explain that? I'd also like to know, in conclusion, Chair, and thank you for your indulgence. We know there's 105 functional CPFs in the Western Cape. What has the Department of Correctional Services done to engage with those CPFs with regards to the parolees under those CPFs jurisdiction, so that the communities can assist the department when